recently wrapped up on PC. If I could describe my impression of the beta in one or two words, it would be confused and messy. That description is in a gameplay design philosophy and not its technical performance. In terms of performance, it was great for me. I did not have any crashes, weird bugs, and matchmaking was fast with plenty of games to join. On PC I was playing in 4K at high settings and frame rate was adequate. It is not in the league of other titans when it comes to graphical fidelity, but it was still great to my eye. What stands out more is the gameplay being all over the place and lacking an identity. Firstly, let's look at the changes from Black Ops 3. The beta had a much more, dare I say it, boots on the ground feeling. There is no wall running or giant gaps to leap, although the sprint to slide is still available. I didn't notice much difference in the overall movement speed and game pace when compared to previous Call of Duties, although I have not played a Call of Duty in a while. The more divisive change is the handling of how players are healed. In Black Ops 4, healing is a manual process where a button is pressed to initiate the healing rather than avoiding damage for a period of time. This mechanic adds to the reason why the pace has not slowed down. If you receive a lot of damage, instead of waiting or camping until your health is regenerated, you can traverse the map whilst healing. One thing to note is the healing is on a cooldown, so healing cannot continuously be spammed. This makes your choice of engagements much more essential than ever before, as you can get caught in a firefight at half health. This leads to my next point of more tactical gameplay. Nothing emphasises this more than the longer time to kill. This is another divisive change to long-time Call of Duty fans. The time to kill has not increased so much that enemies are bullet sponges, but it is enough to feel impactful, and I like the change. It adds to teamwork and a tactical aspect of gameplay that Call of Duty rarely engages in. To aid in teamwork, each player can select one specialist, but no more than two of the same specialists per team. Most of the specialists return from Black Ops 3, with some additions. Specialists now have a character-specific ability and a returning Overwatch-like ultimate, which is charged gradually throughout the game and increases depending on how well you are playing. Some specialists provide an assault kit such as Battery with her cluster grenades and a grenade launcher aimed at killing the enemy, to more support-based operatives that have barbed wire and a health boost aimed at either playing the objective or supporting the team. This is where the game starts to fall down. It's not entirely the fault of the specialists and their obvious lack of personality. I can handle that in a fast-paced shooter. It's the amount of systems the game throws at you. You choose a specialist to play as, select a class that you most likely created that consists of weapons and equipment, and a set of Call of Duty staples, score streaks. There are so many systems that come together just to start a match that it can be daunting. This directly coincides with the gameplay once a match begins. The biggest issue I had with the beta is a match can quite often turn into a hectic mess that removes the tactical gameplay and sense of speed the previous systems have built. An example of this occurred when I was playing Domination. Domination tends to be a game mode of longer length, and this allows players to attain much higher score streaks and use their ultimate abilities multiple times. In a Domination match I played, there was constant circling of UAVs where a radio call was heard so frequently it practically became part of the soundtrack. Helicopters were called in and ultimates were used back to back to back. That I was no longer worried about running and gunning the enemy. My choice was to bunker down where I can die without seeing my enemy due to an ultimate, or die from a score streak. Typically, I enjoy the objective-based game modes much more than pure deathmatch in Call of Duty, but it was very easy to landslide to a victory. Being either the victor or loser does not change the enjoyment levels in either circumstance. To my surprise, the game modes I had the most fun with was actually Team Deathmatch and Kill Confirmed. These game modes focused a lot more on gunplay and rarely devolved into a match of constant score streaks and ultimate abilities. Although the support specialists can be chosen and effective in these modes, their abilities are far less significant than they would be playing an objective-based game mode. This is where I was getting the most enjoyment, but also made me feel the most confused. I disregarded the new elements of the game such as support operatives and thoughtful engagements in favour of the gun mechanics. One last thing worth pointing out is the maps. The beta included a lot of maps, which was great, as the game never felt stale due to the scenic variety, but the maps were only just fine. No map stood out to me, which is a shame, as usually the beta includes some of, if not the game's best maps in an attempt to get players hooked. The variety and locations were fine, but the design never really grabbed me into saying, this map is my favourite. Also increase the time on activating buttons on maps. It is ridiculously slow. No one is going to use them, as it halts the momentum for a very minor change in the map design. Overall, whilst playing the beta, I had fun. I can see myself jumping into a match on the odd occasion, but the lack of identity really makes me wonder if I'd ever come back to playing Black Ops 4 again and again. For a more intense tactical shooter, there is Rainbow Six Siege. For a hero shooter, there is Overwatch, or even a fast-paced shooter like Quake Champions. Black Ops 4 multiplayer really doesn't stand out in the crowded market anymore, and to be honest appears to borrow aspects of those previously mentioned games and just mixes them together, and I'm not wholeheartedly convinced that the combination will keep players continually logging in. Now sit back and enjoy the rest of the gameplay.
Enemy RCXD in your AO. We're behind. You know what to do. Enemy Hellstorm detected. Hostile UAV circling. Hostile attack chopper inbound. Enemy UAV above. That's a hard fail. Get out of there.
He's gone. They're gone.